You start.
Okay, welcome to this session of audience development. We are in the choral context, so I'm happy to present this together with Sonja, Secretary General of Estonian Choral Association.
Thank you. And who of you was already in the session of Talmar about audience development just now? Okay, that's not too much overlap, because I was going to say it's possible that I will repeat some of the things that he already said. So we wanted to talk about audience development because it's for us a tool to reach out. We said this morning we want to reach new people, both new potential singers, but also new audiences for our concerts. And before we go into that, we should look at the definition a little bit of what is this word that everybody is using, and who is the audience we are talking about, so whom are we targeting? And the European Union has been using the word audience development a lot since this last program was created, the Creative Europe program. Audience development was a big topic there, and at the beginning people were very confused and said, what exactly is meant? So they have been working on definitions, and as I say, it brings audiences, spectators, users, citizens, participants under the spotlight for the first time on an equal footing with artists and cultural organizations. Meaning actually we're talking both about people who are coming to listen, to attend cultural events, but actually also about people who are then participating in cultural events. And one of the tools of audience development in a way is actually to do away with this difference between audiences and performers up to a certain point. And the European Union also said that there were a lot of examples from the cultural world, but they weren't well known enough, so that's why they wanted to promote projects that would talk about audience development and would give examples of audience development, and that's in a way what we're doing today. So today we want to show some examples from the choir world and say this is what is happening in the choir world in audience development. And to be able to also give this to the European Union and say, look, this is what we're doing. And I actually already did that last Wednesday when I was in Brussels. I showed this presentation to somebody and said, look, this is what we're going to do next weekend. But I think it's also an inspiration for ourselves. Now, I'm going to run very quickly through the next slides because I think most people here are aware of it, but the question when I speak about audience development is always who is my audience, so who is my target, and how can I reach this target. And you know that we have been talking about the fact that we represent 2.1 million people through our membership, but as you have heard this figure many times before, we have those 37 million singers in continental Europe singing. So actually we are not reaching that many singers yet through our membership. And maybe we reach a few more through our activities because we also have non-members who participate in the activities, but actually the potential already of people who are already singing to join our activities and become our audiences is very big, and the potential, as I said this morning, of the people who are not singing yet is much bigger because it's the remaining 95.5% of the population. So this is ideally our end target group. And of course it's a very big target group and we are not going to get everybody there, but our aim is to get more of these people to listen to performances and to try out singing as well and maybe become a fan of collective singing one way or another. Over the last years we have started collecting inspiring examples, and I should say that this presentation started from a presentation I did in an audience development workshop, and I collected German examples at the beginning. So a lot of the examples I will be talking about are German, but they are in a way exemplary for what is happening in Europe. I've collected a few European examples, and Raul will give some Estonian examples. We are fully aware that in all your countries there is a lot going on that is not in my presentation now. I did launch a call for examples, but it was a bit late, so we got only 3 or 4 examples in. But we hope to continue building this, so you can also send us your examples after this presentation and say, by the way, we have a fantastic tool in our country. So, what we are talking about is different types of possibilities of how we can reach out, unusual events or unusual settings or unusual methods of how to reach those people. And I've made a list, and it's probably not an extensive list either, but a list of possibilities of what you can have as types of events. So there are sing-along events, which can be small scale or large scale. There are open singings, public open singings that we've mentioned a lot, of course, with our festival. There are the so-called choirs for those who cannot sing. There are projects that try to merge singers and audience or to take away the barrier between singers and audience. There is the possibility of mixing art forms to make concerts more interesting, to set up unusual events, to be in unusual settings, and then, as we discovered some years ago, it's also very important to actually start encouraging singing in families, because this is where your audience development starts, or as people say, it starts 9 months before the birth of the mother of the child. Because if or the parents, not only the mother, because if the parents didn't sing when they were children, they will find it very difficult to sing to their child when they're parents. So it's actually not at the birth of the child, but 1 generation before that audience development starts. So I will start with some examples of sing-along events in Germany. I've collected most of these examples from the Chorzeit, which is a magazine of our German choir member association, Deutscher Chorverband. And they have been regularly publishing encouraging examples from this field, which we have been collecting. So sing-along events have become very hip in Germany, I must say. There's a lot of this happening in Berlin at the moment. And basically you have a core of singers who are prepared and will sing something, and then other people can join without having been prepared by the conductor and can sing along. That's the point of sing-along events. Sometimes it's even a professional choir who will be the core choir, and then they invite amateur singers, but sometimes they also invite non-singers. It depends on what kind of sing-along you do. There are small events that are very easy to organize and don't cost a lot and can be done by a normal choir as well, as you can see. So there's, for example, a German choir who says that they are doing crash mobs. So it's not flash mobs that we've heard before, but crash mobs. And then they're playing with the hip words. The subtitle is a cappella to go. So, you know, people in Germany are saying, what is Togo coffee? Because everywhere you can now buy Togo coffee, and it's coffee to go. And you can have food to go and drinks to go, so why not have culture to go? So they have taken this a cappella music to go and are adapting it to their model. So it's a project of a choir called Crescendo. So as you can see, they like word games. And they invite people to come to a basically living room and sing along. The choir serves as a pilot choir, and everybody who wants to sing along can join. They pay a little fee, and they can try out singing in a very relaxed atmosphere. They use a lot of humor in their advertising, so you can see they say, what is what you will have? You will be singing, snapping, getting a fright, discovering unknown land, and laughing, which is an important part for them to make people feel well. Then a similar project was the Raise Your Voice one-day singing project of the choir Coriander. So again, they do, that's more formal in the sense that they just do a one-day open rehearsal. In a rehearsal room, they encourage people to come and join. They rehearse for this day, and then they have a concert at the end of the day. So you can try out being in a choir for one day and see if you like it, and then decide if you want to continue, so you don't have to commit yourselves. And then there is a new thing which is not choral, but I think it's still an interesting thing. In Bonn and Köln, we have a woman called Frau Höpke. She goes into pubs, and she projects the text of very well-known songs, which can be carnival songs when you are in Cologne, or can be a song by the Beatles, or it can be songs that a lot of people know. And then she sits at the piano, she plays and sings, and the people just sing along. And I was in a pub like that once, and it was amazing because it was a room like this one, completely packed with people. And they had a beer glass in their hand, and they sang for 2 hours, 3 hours, enjoying themselves incredibly. They don't sing multi-part, so it's not a choral experience, but still it's an experience to try out singing and see what it does to you, and people are actually enjoying it quite a lot. I put one quote there. "I was so happy afterwards, I discovered that singing makes you happy." That was a quote of a non-singer who went there for the first time. Actually, at our Europa Cantat Festival in Mainz, we tried out a sing-along event, a large-scale sing-along event. We had 7,000 people on the square singing Carmina Burana together. We had distributed the scores to everybody, and there was a prepared big choir on the stage, but everybody could sing along. And these things also help you when you do them in the frame of a festival to increase the visibility of your festival. We were strategically a bit stupid because we did it on the last day before the end. And on the next day, everybody came and asked where they can buy concert tickets for the festival, and the festival was over. So we learned that if you schedule that, it's better to do it earlier in your event. There was also a very big example when we had the Capital of Culture in the Ruhrgebiet in Germany. They filled a huge stadium, the Borussia Dortmund football stadium, with singers. I was there myself. It was quite an amazing event. It was a mix of performances, open singing with everybody, even sign language choir, all kinds of things happening, and every seat in this hall was sold out. So it was quite amazing for a big scale event. And then they also did satellite concerts in the region and called it a Day of Song. Here is a concept that worked in the UK. It came from United Kingdom and was then imported to Germany. So they called it the largest school choir concerts in the world. They gathered school children again in a big, big sports hall and made them all sing together. There were thousands of children singing together. They had a live band, a professional live band, and it was music from the rock-pop field, but also classical music and excerpts from musicals, so a wild mix of repertoire. Because we will also maybe at some point talk about it. Repertoire, of course, can also be a tool for attracting new audiences or attracting people to try out singing. Maybe if you start your project with Baroque music, it might be more difficult to attract new singers because they find it very difficult, or with a very contemporary piece that is hard to sing. So you have to, of course, find something that people find easy at the beginning. Our experience is that then later they will actually also try out other music, because I often hear this argument, and when I see Kjetil, we had a festival called Youth Choirs in Movement in Bonn, and Kjetil offered a workshop called Choral Disco, and we actually sang disco music and had a live disco on stage. And the children who participated in this workshop, they wanted to sign up for this workshop because they didn't know any of the other music and they were not interested. And at the end of the final concert, where they also heard Symphiropoulos doing some very difficult choir music, and they heard all kinds of things, then they went to their conductor and said, next time we go to the festival, we don't want to sing choral disco again. Then we want to go to this lady from Canada and want to sing the more difficult music. So if you attract people through the music they will find easy to sing, it doesn't mean that they will want to sing this music for the rest of their lives. It may just be a tool to access new audiences and then be able to teach them other music as well. And then there's a funny example from Berlin, which actually it started as a kind of illegal thing, that people climbed over the gates of the football stadium on Christmas Eve or the day before and started singing Christmas songs together. And then other people found out about that and said, can we also come? And then from year to year they were more, and now they fill the stadium every year with people who come just to sing Christmas songs together. Some sing them unisono, some sing four parts because they may have it. It's singers and non-singers combined. They just want to create a Christmas atmosphere through common singing. So as you say, it gathered with 89 fans at the beginning, football fans actually, and now they're asking a fee and filling the stadium with the fee, and it has become an income they use to finance the youth work of the football club. So quite an interesting example, because it was not initiated even by choir people or singing people, but by sports people.
Can do the opposite.
Yes.
So if you football on stage,
Yes.
you're in a choir concert.
Yes, we have to yes, do football games in our festivals and then use the income. So now I would like to pass the word to Raul, who will give an example from Estonia about also sing along.
Yeah, this is a program what is very popular in Estonian TV, and you can of course imagine that the programs in TV are popular in this because afterwards when it's shown, you can maybe see your face there. So this one, but from other hand, it's also very popular in this meaning that the TV crew is going to countryside, really in a small places, and there is one popular singer leading this day or this event, and singing also, as I heard in Germany in many places, just popular songs what people know and want to sing, also sing along with a good singer together. And so is also a band, and this one clip I'd like to show you is especially in this meaning good, that there is probably the how would I say, officer of this local where the army is situated. He has been given even to soldiers the day off to sing with this nice popular girl called Gerli Padar, and she's very attractive and everyone knows her. So the soldiers you can see also there, and the song you will recognize in every language I know, but it is sung now in Estonian.
I think you get the idea. And everybody knows it in his own language, as Raul said, so we are
so,
all...
And then did I mention that it is already 17 years going in Estonian TV, so it is continuously very, very popular every summer. It's with songs to the countryside. So it's summer activities. So it is one example. I go to another examples, I think, on the next point.
Okay. We also asked for some examples from other countries, as I said, and we received a few small examples. From France, for example, they have a project they called Chœur à durée déterminée, which means a short-term choir or limited choir. It's a bit similar to the German examples. One evening, a couple of canons that you sing together, songs, dances, a break with food and drinks. We've heard that a couple of times today, that icebreakers in the form of food and drinks may be important. And then a performance the same day, if possible, on a stage. So again, it's for people to just try out if they like singing and have their little concert on the same day. Sometimes they have a local choir who offers to share this for an evening or two, so they will also do some of their own songs. Then it's less stressful for the others because they don't have to sing so much. There was one that opened the rehearsals under the title "Yes, You Can," which you may remember was a slogan of an American president. And they were trying to encourage singers that they can sing. And they say not only do you get new singers through that maybe, but you also get new audiences because they're also bringing their friends and families along to the concerts. So you will also have people coming back. You do, however, need a conductor in these kind of things that is experienced in the kind of open singing or choral animation. You may need another energy to get non-singers to sing than if you are working with your regular choir. I just had a meeting last week in Brussels with the team that organizes Singing Brussels, which is also a project that tries to reach out to new audiences. It's organized in cooperation of Beaux-Arts and our two of our member organizations in Belgium, Courant Stem and Accord Joie Belgique. And they want to turn Brussels into a singing city. They want to transcend the borders of generations, genres, ethnic, cultural, and religious identity. So they are reaching out to the cultural minorities in the city and trying to integrate them into this day. They have workshops that are open to non-singers and combine singers and non-singers in the workshops, and then they show the results in a weekend where they also have choir-to-choir concerts. And they have started also offering the Cantania concerts, which were inspired by what the Catalans have been doing in the auditori, meaning that you invite school classes from different schools to come together and sing together, and they are allowed or invited to sing in one of the big classical concert halls, which also means that their families come as audiences to the big classical concert halls. And I must say I've seen it both in Catalonia and in the Netherlands, and especially in Utrecht, because it's a very multicultural city. It was very interesting for me to see many parents from many different origins and also their children and friends sitting in the audience of a concert hall they would normally never have entered if their child would not have been standing on stage. So it's also an interesting concept. Then we have open singings, and of course we at the Europa Cantat world are basically familiar with it. The concept in Europa Cantat started at the beginning of the 60s with Gottfried Wolters from Germany, who also created the first songbook for open singings for us. And we have been doing it in all our festivals, but actually there are also public open singings happening outside festivals, organized in different cities, where a conductor says, I will do an open singing today. We had, for example, in Utrecht also a whole series of open singings leading towards the festival to increase the visibility of the festival and of choral music. And as Carlo just reminded me, in Torino and Milano at the Mito Festival, they have also started open singings as a result of our Europa Cantat Festival and the quite spectacular open singings on the square there. So this is of course a way to both engage people singing along and also letting people hear that singing is something nice. We have found out ourselves, however, that it's not so easy to do that, and that you again have to have a quite smart concept of how to involve the people. There is even a book in Germany now that we co-published for the international version, or we cooperated with them about how to do that open singing, because it's a whole skill required. Pardon?
I recognize those people.
Yes. They chose a nice picture, intergenerational picture. Then the next concept actually I think originated in Scandinavia, at least I heard about it from the first time from Sweden and Norway, is the Help I Cannot Sing choirs, or choirs for non-singers. And at least in Germany, I don't know about other countries, they have become quite popular. So in my own town there are choirs called Chor der Nichtsänger, and they are always trying to say, don't be afraid, everybody can sing, just come and try it out. And there is this quote of somebody who said, my career of singing started and ended in elementary school, which is a very typical example. I was once asked to sing and then was never invited to join again. So I thought, what is behind this? I thought I could not sing. In secondary school, almost everybody participated in choir rehearsals with a few exceptions, including me. This is a story, a life story we have heard many times of people who were discouraged at a certain time in their childhood or youth and then they think they cannot sing, and this person rediscovered singing when he was 58 through one of those choirs for non-singers. Then, as I said, there is this idea of merging audiences and singers and getting out of the usual settings, or using different ways of doing that. And those who were in Stefan Luthermann's presentation actually heard about, I didn't know he was going to speak about it, about the Brahms Requiem performance of the Rundfunkchor Berlin. They called it a human requiem, and they tried through a scenic performance that was also not just on stage, but also where the audience was, to overcome this barrier between the audience and the singers. So the audience was not sitting opposite the choir, but they were in the middle, they were surrounded, and they were directly connected with what was happening. And some of you may remember a concert with Amanda, the Swedish group, at a World Symposium, I think in the Netherlands many years ago, where Amanda went down from the stage and they crawled over the audience while singing Come Over Me, Coming Over Me. So it was a song with this text, and at the same time they were virtually crawling over the audience. And anybody who was in this concert, I think, will remember it for the rest of their lives, because it was such an unusual experience to suddenly have a singer on top of you and next to you, and really very special. So this can be a way of doing it as well. Then we got another example from France, where they say we do a concert with two places, a sacred place and a place for secular music, and in between, again, a convivial meal. You can see eating, drinking, aperitif, picnic. All this is also a way of attracting audiences, and this is the choir that sent those examples. Yes, exactly, Marie and Jacques, who cannot be with us this weekend because they have a concert, actually. So then you can virtually mix art forms, also different music forms. I remember already in Mainz we had choirs doing choir and beatboxing. In Timur's workshop we heard about, venues doing first some disco music and then chamber music. In Utrecht they do something similar. They have a DJ and then they have a classical concert afterwards. But you will see in our program for Tallinn also we are doing things with, it's not only art forms, you can even combine with food and drinks, or you can combine with cinema or literature or visual arts. You have a lot of possibilities of doing this. And we received from Hungary a slide from the voice singers, whom those of you who were in Hungary will remember. And they played quite a special role in Hungary, where maybe you should know that the context was a bit different than if you would do that in the Netherlands, because it was really new at the time in Hungary. They really wanted to show that choral music is colorful. They wanted to surprise their audiences, showing something new, light, breezy, as they say, something enjoyable, but at the same time demanding, and also connected to the classical roots. So they have developed their own repertoire, their own concert formats with this, and they are I've been to concerts in Pitch, they are very popular with the audience there, and also with people who normally would not have gone to the cathedral to listen to a choir concert. So they attract wider audiences. And then this is an example from my own choir, actually, where I sing. We tried out for the first time a concept concert. So we said we will not just say, okay, we're singing love songs or romantic music or something like that, but we will design a concert from A to Z. So we chose wedding as a topic, and we decorated the church like for a wedding. We dressed in black and white. Our oldest singer entered the church with the youngest singer on his arm, and you had the wedding march on the organ. They walked to the front as if it was the beginning of a wedding. At the end of the concert, our conductor left the church pulling some empty tins behind her and holding up a just married sign, so we had a little bit of acting in it. We had a PowerPoint presentation with pictures of wedding costumes from the countries from which we sang wedding songs. We explained about some wedding traditions between the songs, and we had some poems in between. So it was mixing arts, having a concept. And when we sent out the press release for this concert, we already got a lot of reactions saying, oh, this sounds really interesting. It sounds like a different choir concert. So I'm saying it can be quite simple, actually. We are a totally normal amateur choir. It required time investment from us, but no money, no extra money needed, just the time invested to look for the pictures, to decorate the church and these things. But the whole choir got into the fever of this wedding concert, and they now want to repeat it because it was so special also for themselves. So this is also a possibility to make your concerts more attractive.
Wedding.
And then we talked already a little bit also about unusual settings in the presentation of the Euro Choir. So go out of your concert halls, go to where the people are, go to the halls that exist in the city but are maybe not traditional concert halls, go to places where you don't expect music at all. So here's a list of what you can do, what I have found as examples. There's a lot of possibilities. And I've probably forgotten the swimming pools, because I know that in Finland, for example, they've also been performing virtually in the pool with a swimming suit on. So this is also a possibility. And we have now some examples from Raul again about unusual settings in Estonia.
There is the 1st October is this International Music Day, and there is a quite creative group of people who are making this day, and it has been coming more and more interesting, I think, and more in very unusual places. So probably there are going to be 2 clips of this event. One of them, I think the first of them is
we first have Nargen as an unusual before we come to that, yes.
Yeah. At first I begin with a very well-known name in Estonian choral music, probably you also know it, called Tõnu Kaljuste. And he is a creative, really creative man. He bought a piece of land on island called Nargen in Tallinn Bay, and there was a friend of him finding, oh, we can do here something very special, and gifted him a barn. The barn was the property of very well-known Estonian, let's say, mind leader called Omar Volmer, and it was built in 1905, actually, in Pärnu County. So they gifted him a barn. Can you make this as a concert hall? And all the ideas came forward to this, that now we have already many years very famous Nargen festival, and in this barn are held the festival concerts. It is called Omari Küün. It is Omar's barn. It is quite, but in this Nargen island, it was all the Soviet time. It was a completely closed island for Soviet army troops. So you can see some nice architecture also from those times also on this island when you go there. Still now you can only just go with a boat. You cannot. But it's very popular.
And actually
place.
You go on an army truck to go from the boat to the barn, which is quite unusual as well as a way to your concert performance. Yes.
So and the other one is also discovered by Tõnu Kaljuste. The one reason maybe Tõnu Kaljuste, as a real professional and creative conductor, is that he's trying to find new places, is this very sad story that in Tallinn there has not built a concert hall in real meaning as a concert hall, acoustic hall, over than 100 years. So we have always So we have to try to find another places. And Kaljuste found, I know he was walking with his son on this industrial area where there was this building called Noblessneri Valukoda. It was old a factory of submarines, and then he went there. Its door was a little bit opened and tried these acoustics, and now it's again a place with fantastic acoustics of, and it's a very big place with fantastic acoustic of a cappella music. It is like a church, good church acoustics. You can fill it with your voice. And then those kind of very interesting staged projects done of Veljo Tormis music, staged by Peeter Jalakas and conducted by Tõnu Kaljuste, have been done in this, I don't know how to say, this old factory building. Actually, there has been built, I think, 7 submarines also.
Mm-hmm. And what he says also is, it looks like a run-down, derelict factory building. And actually they set up a stage and chairs and lighting, everything for the concerts, and take it all away again afterwards. So when you visit it between the concerts, you can hardly imagine
you can see
that there would be concerts.
I think there is a picture of this.
Yes, that's what it looks like. We visited it and it really looks like that.
This is like nothing.
Now come your...
And then this event, what our team of Music Day, International Music Day, was doing, really last year in 16, they made concerts every possible place they really could think, and the first clip or pictures are from just normal bus from one place to another, and our famous girls' choir Ellerheim is singing in the bus. It's quite crowded actually. Mm-hmm. And another happening, now you will hear also orchestra of mandolins playing, having a concert in such a place. You just have to look at it.
Oh, what happened to the... Oh, sorry. I have the wrong...
we can put it...
I'll show them at the end,
okay.
Because then it's... I had them built in and they disappeared, so I'll show the two videos.
We can begin with this? Is it okay?
No, it's the same. I think I used the wrong... Wait a minute. I can try... If I find my mouse again. There it is. Okay. I can try if it works like this. No, I will try at the end. Let's finish with the presentation first, and then we'll try to show you the films at the end. It's basically a concert in a barn where the cows are feeding while the concert is going on.
In a normal train.
And I will show you at the end of the presentation.
And
because
this is a picture of our famous opera soloist singing in train between Tallinn and Nõmme, where I'm living.
We're almost at the end, so I'll just show the two films afterwards, because then we're also running out of time. The last point was what I said at the beginning, is going back to the very beginning. Encouraging singing in families is something you need to think about. And we had some examples from Estonia, where this is not only done in the families, but also for families outside in some private and a few state music schools. You have music and creativity schools for babies. So they have games, dances, and songs, and some start at the age of 1 month, some start at the age of 1 week, said Kaye, so you can go there right from the hospital to your first music lessons. And this child that you can see has just received a certificate for its first music course and is very proud of it. And obviously, the children come with either their parents or their nannies or something like that. You can see they sometimes are at the back, sometimes they do things together. And they meet once a week for 40 minutes. And then they also have real performances and concerts. So this is a so-called baby concert. And you can see happy babies enjoying the experience. No, they're all happy, I can tell you. Yes. And so, yeah. Well, you should ask Kaye.
Yes, actually, of course, if they are like less than 1 year old, maybe their parents sing and they play all kind of rhythmical instruments, like org instruments, because they don't sing themselves, and of course they dance, because the main aim is to teach them first to move in rhythm of music. So they clap, they do such things, but in the rhythm of music. And at first their moms sing, but from the age of 1.5 years, I worked with children from 1.5 years, they already sing with moms. And from 3 years they are big and they come to the lessons alone. And they sing alone.
So
we performed actually, there are up to 10 kids in the group, but for the concerts I put 4 groups together and I performed with a choir of 43 years children. It was a great choir, I must say.
it's early start. And for those who are in countries where this is not possible yet, we developed this collection of lullabies with Karos Verlag and with a sing-along CD, because we realized that many parents are afraid to sing with their children because they think they can't sing properly. So we have, I call them karaoke CDs for parents. So they have the instrumental accompaniment, which makes it easier for them to sing along. They have pronunciation files. And there is a German collection, and we did an international collection. And as I said this morning, whenever a Europa Cantat baby is born, they get one of these books from us, because we think it's a way to encourage parents to sing. And you can also actually download all the material freely from the website. So if you can't afford the book, you can still go to the website and sing the songs there. You just miss the beautiful pictures that are not there. So I will try now to go to the films, because somehow I think something happened with my file. So
I think
they
the
were
most
in there.
extreme performances were done also in 1st of October in airplanes also.
I wonder what the cows are thinking. They're not thinking, they're singing. Yeah. So that's one example. Yes. So that's real out of the box, yes. That's very nice what's happening now. She has to get off the train and feels not so good about it, but has to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's enough.
So, funnily enough, my brother sent me a film of an air company that did that in a plane, which I think is even more interesting, because in the plane you cannot escape. So, if you don't like the music, it might even be a bit violent to have somebody standing right in front of you. But it's a possibility. It's exactly 5:30, but I would still like to offer you 5 minutes to ask questions or just throw a fantastic example from your own country on the table, because the buses leave at 6, so we still have a little bit of buffer time. But this is what we have prepared for you today. And
just
yes.
a little comment. You said something like...
Sorry, can you use microphones because we are recording? Then it's
Yes, you
easier.
when you were talking about this wedding concert, you said that people, when they heard about the concert, they thought it was a different choral concert, and that is something I've been thinking a lot about, that many choirs, when they describe themselves, they say, oh, we're a different choir, or we do different. This indicates that to use the word choir or choral music, etc., it clicks something in the mind of many people that they don't want to go to a choir concert, but it's okay if it's a different choir concert.
Actually, I can tell you that I did a survey about the European Union culture programs, and it was a British person who called me to ask about that, and she obviously was not a musician herself. And then when I used the word choral, first of all, she didn't understand it. That happens quite often. And then I spelled it and I explained what it was, and she said, oh, I would never use the word choral. It's so old-fashioned to say choral. Which is one of the reasons why you see that in our publications we are trying to become a bit more flexible and sometimes use vocals, sometimes use collective singing, because we have found out that in some cultures the word choir and choral actually really associates something old-fashioned. And in France, for example, you have two words. You have chœur and chorale, and chorale has an old-fashioned connotation and chœur has a more modern connotation. So when we created the European Youth Choir, we were told that we couldn't call it Chorale Européenne des Jeunes because it would frighten people off. We had to call it Chœur Européen des Jeunes to sound a bit more modern. So I think it's a lot of what is in the heads of the people. And I must say, when we did this wedding concert, on this evening in Bonn, there were 8 choir concerts in the city of Bonn happening. So that's maybe also another thing. In some cities you have a lot of competition, and then you're trying to somehow stick out of the other 9 to attract new audiences.
I remembered when you were singing in the plane. Without realizing, we have done it. We do it always when we travel. We sing in the airplane, in the trains, in the airport, and sit down and sing. You can't imagine how much invitations we got singing in the planes, or because very many VIPs travel and see us. Only one
did you
minute
sing in business class?
Yeah.
No, not in business class.
You're not allowed, but they hear you in the business class.
Yes, especially in the Arab countries, we need to build our audience because the choir culture is new there, and we should work so hard. I didn't realize that we are doing it without unconsciously.
I think a lot of people are doing audience development without realizing that they're doing it. And that's why I don't want to say that these are extraordinary examples. It's what Kom said this morning. We are aware that everything we're doing in this project exists somewhere. But when you see 10 examples, maybe there is one where you say, this I didn't think about before. I've never done a concert in a barn, so maybe next time I go and sing with the cows. Something I haven't thought about. Or, this concert could be something, or doing something on a square, etc. So it's about inspiring, and inspiration and innovation are always relative, meaning that some people will say, I've heard that 20 times before, and some people will say, I never thought about that. This is a new idea for me. But I think it's also that we have to get better in filming these things. So, for example, this film that I got from my brother, it was filmed by the air company. They offered the musicians a free flight in return for performing on the plane as a kind of flash mob. And then they filmed this very professionally and turned it into an advertisement for the airline. So showing the positive surprise of the people and people coming out of the plane and saying, well, this is the best flight I've ever had because I was so surprised, and it was a very well-known Latin American pop musician who sang. So they turned this into a positive image of their airline. And I think what we can do better in the choral world is to document those things and to use them to show the image that we have and to turn them into something more concrete.
Can I tell a story also? One of our choir members, in her graduation film, became a film director, was shown in France. And we went to the airport with our own t-shirts, Feha choir, to say hi to her, and we started singing. And then the police came and the people was watching. Police came and they say it's forbidden to sing. I said, why? I said, I will not stop. Do whatever you want to do. And then the officer came. They told me that I should go. I said, no, let him come. And then we said, it's forbidden to sing. Okay, I'm walking and singing. It's forbidden. No, all of us singing the same song in the same time. I thought if I continue singing, maybe they can take me to jail, and it will be very good idea to have promotion.
Yes.
Yes, but the officer was very smart. He said, okay, go and sing.
But actually, I must tell you that when we first presented the idea of flash mob somewhere, in some countries, it is forbidden to sing in a tram or a bus or on a public square without prior permission that you have to get from the city. In Germany, it's quite organized. You think the musicians on the street are spontaneous, and none of them is spontaneous. They all have registered to be allowed to sing on the streets. And when you do a flash mob, it can happen to you also in Germany that the police comes and says you have not registered this flash mob, so it's not legal. But as you say, in the end, they never send you to prison. They just ask you to move on or to do some things. But yeah. Yeah. Gabor, yes? Can you use the mic as well, please, just to...
We were talking about flash mobs and crash mobs,
Yeah.
but I experienced this summer a splash mob as well. That was invented one of the Word Youth Choir singers, because when we were on the Croatian seaside, the singers were having a splash in the sea, and spontaneously they started to sing a Kodai piece, which is quite weird.
Yeah.
You may imagine a pop music or jazz or something in the water, but it was rhythmical. And they invited the conductor, the Hungarian conductor, to come in the water, and he started to conduct 100 meters far from the shore. Then he was walking on the podium inside the water, and then he was already in a bathing suit. Mm-hmm. Then people were coming because they saw filming and taking pictures. Mm-hmm. Then he went into the water, and they were singing there, I think, for another 10 or 15 minutes, the whole Word Youth Choir and the conductor, all in bathing suits, just splashing the water and doing all the fun and singing classical choral music there.
So now we know what we will do with the Euro Choir next year in Tallinn, Kaye. We send them to the sea to sing in bathing suits in the sea, yes. It's a great, thank you. That's
we didn't publish it because of privacy reasons, of course. So we shared it within the network of the singers, and then some of them they just made a comment that isn't it a splash mob?
Yes, so very nice. I am getting decent signs from outside that we are running out of time, but I'll take 2 or 3 more minutes. Ruben.
I have one more example of audience development concerts where we, with the Dutch Student Chamber Choir, did a concert in, I'm not sure how you call it in English. It's a home where people with dementia and who are elderly get taken care of. Yep. And at first that was just a concert for the people living there. I mean, that's not really special on its own.
Anymore, yeah.
But what we really asked the organization to do is to also invite the family of these people and to have them come, of course, and to see their parents, grandmas, I don't know. But in the end, we had a concert for about 250 people in the auditorium of the foster home, the place. with also a lot of people who actually said, yeah, well, I've never heard a concert before, but because it was here and my mother is here, I decided to come. So that's maybe also an idea.
And the next step is actually to make them sing
Join.
together.
No, it was a
singing,
concert with. It wasn't meant to be sing along because there were people with dementia as well. So what we did, we sang folk songs.
Yeah.
And we could actually kind of a crossover with also an iPod project, as we call it in Holland. But you could also see people with dementia completely coming alive because they recognize the music.
Yes. But there
so
are also projects where they try to get the families to do this with their parents.
Okay.
So they do open singing with people who have mental illnesses or dementia, aphasia also. With aphasia patients, this is quite interesting. They cannot speak, but they can sometimes sing. And so they try to show to the family that communicating through music can be also a way for the family itself later to communicate. So it's not just a communication between the performers and the people, but that you can take it one step further by helping the family to use this tool themselves and to sing with their parents or for their parents, depending on what is possible. So a lot of things are happening in this field. And again, it's a very interesting thing because in some cases it's not so easy to find the music that will appeal to everybody. So with the changing generations, I attended a session about music and the brain, and I will finish after that, where I was told that before you get dementia, you should write down for your family what was the music you listened to between the age of 14 and 21. And that this would be the music that wakes up your brain if it is played to you or sung to you when you are in the state of having dementia. And there is a generation now where folk songs work quite well, or Schlager in Germany, but there is a generation growing up where this music will not work anymore and where the music tastes were quite diverse. So the guy said to us, write your list, tell your brothers and sisters, tell your children what you have been listening to so they know what they have to sing to you later when you reach this
I hope
phase.
they remember, because it changes so quickly now.
Yes.
They probably won't know.
So thank you very much for also all those inspiring examples, and enjoy the evening.